Welcome back to Coffee with the Authors, where we help you decode the craft and business of writing. In this episode, we're going to give you 6 reasons why you should learn to love revision.
Okay, so here's the first reason, is that a recent study showed that they asked editors what are they looking for in potential writers. And the interesting thing was that besides the obvious is that they're looking for a good story, but besides that, the thing they're most looking for is a willingness to revise. If they have half a dozen stories out there by half a dozen authors and they're all equally good stories, they will be more likely to pick one from someone who seems to be open to input and open to revising, because the dirty little secret is there is not a manuscript alive that can't be improved with judicious revision, and they know this. So if you say, I think my story is good as it is, I think maybe we need to spell check it and it's ready to go, they are probably not going to be interested in working with you for good reason.
I used to hate revision. I'll just say it.
Sometimes I still do.
I did not have a good relationship with revision. So I didn't even really understand what it was. So I have this mystery series. There are 18 books in the series. The first one, I wrote the first one. It got rejected, but I liked the character so much that I wrote the second one. And on and on I went. I wrote 4 in this series before all 4 of them got picked up at once. And then I had to learn how to revise. Because when I looked back at the first manuscript, which I hadn't really revised, I had just kind of powered it out and sent it in. And the second manuscript and the third and the fourth, it was like I had become a better writer over that period of time. I mean, you're looking at probably 4 years there. I had become a better writer, and I could now see that in the first book. But I also had the wonderful benefit of this world that I was building, I was more familiar with. So I could go back and do a whole bunch of stuff in the first and second and third books that had evolved when I got to the fourth book. So I was a better writer. There was a lot of work to be done. And that was the time where I realized how valuable the revision process is. But it took a lot for me to get over that initial, I hate revision.
Something I realized, which once I finally accepted this, it really helped, is that when I reached the end of my manuscript, in other words, my draft, if you want to call it a first draft or not, but when I reached the end, I write the end and I'm done with it, realistically, I'm about halfway done with the total work I'm going to put into this thing. I'm going to have to break it down, and I'm going to do big picture stuff and story development stuff, and then work my way down to the more granular stuff. And then finally, at the very end, I'm going to look at every line of dialogue and so on and so forth. And that's going to take months to get it right. And then it's going to go to an editor, and we're going to do that process again. But my point is, once you realize that the first draft is your working material, it is what you're starting with, and you're only going to make that better, then you don't have that giant hump of, I thought I was done, and now I have all this extra work to do. So if you realize that going into it, then you look forward to the revision as just being part of the process, and it won't seem like extra homework.
So the more experience you have with revision, the easier it gets, and the more you get to like it. I know that there are a lot of writers who take and save all their revisions. Yeah. And I don't know how you manage that. To me, that's like having a garage where you store things. And pretty soon you have all these boxes stored up. Pretty soon you're a hoarder. And you don't want to be a hoarder with all the cuts you've made and all the changes you've made. It'll drive you crazy. It'll cripple you. So when I revise something, if there's something that I really, really like, I will take and cut it and put it at the end of the manuscript. And I will look for a place where I can add it without bogging down the flow of the manuscript. I had this music box. This music box was part of this story that I'd written. Yeah. I love this whole part of this music box story. And when I was reading through it in the revision process, I realized that it was slowing everything down. And why was I going on about this music box? But I loved the music box. So I cut it and I said, okay, I'm going to live without it. I'm going to put it at the end of the manuscript. I'm going to find a place to put it in later somewhere else where it makes more sense. So in the revision process, I was always looking for a place to put this music box. And it turns out the music box just wound up, on the cutting room floor. It just did not fit anywhere. So if there's something like the music box that you really, really love, save it for later. But don't fill your garage with boxes of cut material and revisions, because it'll suffocate you.
I didn't really realize that a lot of people actually keep all their revisions, and some people keep a separate file
Yeah.
for every chapter, and then they keep chapter 7B, chapter 7C, chapter 7 Delta. I was speaking to a writers group one time, and I talked about the fact that if I'm working on a book and then I have to go back 3 chapters or something to read something, I'm reading through the manuscript a couple, 3 chapters ago, and then I realize, oh, that's kind of clunky. I could tighten that up, or that sentence could just go. I'm duplicating something I said later on. I would just cut it right then and there and hit Control S, save it, and then move on. And the first time I said that to this group, this woman in front, she did the Home Alone thing. She kind of went, like, her brain just exploded. She couldn't, I keep one document. It's the title of the book, and I just work on that, and that's the document. And every time I make a change, I save it. But what she said about clutter. Here's something that actually came to me as I was in the middle of presenting to a group of writers in Florida. Is I was talking to them and asked them what they'd like to write and what they were doing and having a show of hands. And I said, just kind of on a whim, I said, how many of you like fanfic? And boy, most of their hands went up, and they write it and everything else. These were younger writers. And then I started talking about revision, and my brain went back to that fan fiction thing. I said, okay, so think about this. Revision is like doing fan fiction on your own work.
That is such a cool way of looking at it.
It makes it more fun. In other words, the beauty of fan fiction is just like revising your own work. It's like the hard work has been done. The characters are all created. The general story is there. The world building is there. The setting is there. The general plot is everything's in place. So you don't have to do all that heavy lifting for all that mechanical stuff. You just get to go back in there and play around with it and make it even better. And that's a lot easier than thinking, oh, this is homework. I have to do this. Yeah. No, it's like, it's fun, it's play, and I get to do this.
Fanfic on your own work.
Fanfic on your own work.
So reason number 6 is that you've made it to the end of your manuscript, and now the fun can start, where you know that the story works. You know, like you've built the whole thing. Now you just get to go back and polish it and make it really shine. Think of revision as being like the gift that you get as soon as you have completed your manuscript. So you get to go back and make it as good as it can be. And also think of revision notes that you get from an editor as being a gift.
Yeah.
Because they have put their time and energy into trying to help you shine up your book the best that it can be. So change your thinking about revision, embrace it, make it be the fanfic of your own creation, and just enjoy it, because it really is the place where you can just be free. You've made it to the end of your story, now make it shine.
So that's it for this week, and we hope you got something useful out of this that you can apply to your own writing.
So dream big, work hard, don't give up,
and keep writing.
You shouldn't have said that. Whoa. I just need to learn to shut up.
Well, no comment.
Okay.